All right, just a little quick about me. I'm a high school biology teacher. I coach varsity football. I'm the quarterbacks coach at my high school, and I'm the sprinter relay coach. You can see the times there. Been fortunate to have some really good athletes there. 2018, we set the state record with 41:29. Last year is my first year at Andrew. We went 42:09 and broke the school record. With these guys here, we returned 3 of them for this year, so we were hoping to contend for a state title, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. Here's the state record team from 2 years ago. That's Marcellus there in the middle. I'm going to go through 8 different segments of the 4x1 exchanges. It's kind of just an introduction here. Starting off with lane ownership and stance. So lane ownership might be the most important thing with the 4x1. And when I say lane ownership, it is what part of the lane each of the runners occupies. So the curve runners, they own the inside part of their lane. You can divide the lane into 2 different segments to where you could have, I always have 2 guys stand side by side in the lane to show that 2 people can run in the lane. So the curve runners are always on the inside, and they have the baton in their right hand. The baton always stays in the middle of the track. And then the straightaway runners stay on the outside part of their lane, and they will get the baton in their left hand. So you can see that in this picture here. These are the anchors here, so they own the outside part of their lane. All the guys are on the outside part, all pretty good. And then the incoming runners will be on the inside. And then we can look at the stance in this picture as well. I think the biggest thing with the stance is you want it to be an athletic position, very similar to the 40-yard dash, but really, really important to have a clear vision of the mark. So if we look at this guy over here in lane 7, this is a very popular stance. It is an athletic stance, but I think that that is a questionable view of the mark. You're kind of looking upside down. So I would like it more like this guy here in lane 3, I believe. This is my guy here. He's already on his way, obviously, but you definitely want to have a nice, clear, upright view of the mark. This is a really good picture of lane ownership here. This is the NCAA championships for the women. You can see all the outgoing runners are on the outside, and then the incoming runners are on the inside. So when lane ownership goes wrong, this is actually the state prelims from 2 years ago, I believe. So this team, lane 5 here, so they're the top seed in their heat. So this is the leadoff guy, and then the 2-leg here. So the leadoff guy is supposed to be on the inside. Looks like he is. However, the outside guy, or the 2 runner that's supposed to be on the outside, is in the inside part of the lane. So what happens? Disaster. You see the guy there on his back there. So if you do not have clear lane ownership, that's when your feet get tangled and you have disaster happen. Here's another really good picture. So Homewood Flossmoor here, they're a really fast team in Illinois. We're back here, but we have Marcellus coming. We actually came back and won this race. But their anchor leg here, you can see he is hugging the inside part of their lane when he's supposed to be out here on the outside. And what does that cause? Absolute panic. Look at this guy's face. Because he has to now hand off across his body and try to do a miraculous thing. So they ended up having like a standstill handoff here and ended up losing. All right, so I would say the most revolutionary part of the way that I coach bank step was, or 4x1, is with the bank step. So what the bank step is, the outgoing runner's first step is down as the incoming runner is between the 2 tennis balls, which is our mark. So the reason for this is it teaches consistent takeoffs. So what we noticed is a lot of the times whenever we were filming in slow motion, whenever our guy hit the mark and it says take off, the takeoff for each individual athlete was different. And it could have been different on different reps as well. So the consistency was not really there. And it also allows for very easy adjustments on each given day, depending on the weather condition. All right, so I took out all the videos in my presentation, but I took screenshots that we will run through. So this is the first of two. You can see down in the bottom. All right, so we have our outgoing runner here, and then our incoming runner is already running fast coming in, and then we have our 2 tennis balls as our mark. So the goal for the bang step is our first step right here to there will be down as the incoming runner is in the middle of the 2 tennis balls. So we can see in the next picture, his bang step is down and the runner is in between the 2 tennis balls. So this is a perfect bang step. So that kind of teaches the consistency of it. So if we're all in the exact same part of the process of our takeoff, whenever they're at the mark, then it should be universal throughout all of our athletes. Here we have the incoming runner here. So the goal is for this runner's first step to be down whenever he's in the tennis balls. Let's see if it works. Looks pretty good. And then going to one more here. All right, so on this one, his bang step is not actually down yet, but this takeoff is so elite that I thought it was a great one, a great rep. I told them it's all going to be perfect, and they had probably the best exchange of anyone on our team. All right, so here's an example of when it went wrong. This is a pre-meet practice here. This was prom weekend, so this guy was a fill-in here. So we got the incoming runner coming in. Remember, the bang step should mean that this step is down whenever he's in the 2 tennis balls. Already, I don't like his stance. His feet are facing out, not forward, and it looks like his hands are on his knees. So we got 3 pictures here. Second picture, the incoming runner is in the mark. So this step should be already right here. So it's already going to be way late. And once he does get the bang step down, the incoming runner is already about 5 feet outside of the mark. So this is going to be a run up and a very slow exchange. But this is why we do it. This is why we film it. So then we can show that the outgoing runner needs to leave a little bit earlier. All right, so now we have the drive phase. The most important thing, the drive phase for the outgoing runner, is you got to push, 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 and you got to be big and strong. Very similar to blocks, but you're just at a stand-up start. You want to see the track, so your head is down and you are looking at the track from the acceleration triangle all the way to this, the old start to the zone, the big triangle. So once you see the big triangle, that's whenever you get tall, your eyes come up, and then your hands go back. So this is I believe the NCAA championships. Brandon Sturganic here, he's a friend of ours from Illinois. He is driving out here. He is seeing the track. You have Andrew Riley, which was the 100-meter champ and the 110 champ, I believe. And this picture here, I used it already for the lane ownership, but this is really good drive phase for both of these two guys. Their eyes are down and they're just trying to get up to top speed. They're not worrying about the guy coming behind them. They're just worried about themselves getting to top speed. All right, so now the exchange itself, we have 2 cues for this. We call it the stop sign and the candlestick. So the stop sign is the outgoing runner. You want to have a really flat palm. So it should look something like this. And it's kind of like a stop sign, like stop, but it's like this. And the wrist should be cocked. And you want to have a really steady hand. So if I have the baton about to hand off to someone and I see a hand that's moving all around like this, a moving target, it's going to be a lot harder to hand off that baton. But if you have a real steady, consistent hand, it'll be really simple for that incoming runner to hand off. And really important, I see this a lot with our fresh soft kids, is don't go fishing. So when I say fishing, that means that whenever you have your hand back there and you don't feel the baton yet, don't go looking for it. You have to have trust that the incoming runner will have the baton in your hand, and you just got to keep that really, really steady hand. All right, so then the incoming runner, we call it a candlestick. You want to have the baton up and down, so like 6 to 12 o'clock. You never want to slap the baton in. So actually I have a baton right here. You don't want to slap it in. You just want to push it in. Just nice and easy. And really important, you want to keep pumping those arms until you get real nice and close to them, and then just whoop, pop it in. You don't want to be reaching out as far as you can. That's whenever if you're reaching out and you miss that hand on the first try, you're screwed. All right, so you can see that here. So you have a really good stop sign. This is the Jamaican women, and then a really good candlestick here. These are my guys during the state prelims where we set the school record. I think my incoming runner is reaching a little bit here. He was probably our worst at handoffs, but this is our fast guy. He had a really good stop sign, probably a frame before this picture. I probably would have preferred our incoming runner to just take at least one more stride to get a little bit closer. All right, this is back to Plainfield North. This is Carlos Boggett. He has a really, really good stop sign. It might be a little bit towards the sky a little bit, but it's so flat and so far back that should be a very easy exchange for the incoming runner here. All right, this is a really good example of pushing the baton in, pushing it in. You don't want to slap it in. This is, actually, we'll go back to this picture too. Here's another good stop sign. And one actual other thing with this picture that we can talk about. So we can see Joe Stiffend here, our incoming runner. He has the baton kind of in the middle. And I have coaches ask me a lot, what do you do whenever the guy gets the baton in the middle, and if you grab it with the other hand and fix the baton, you're slowing down a little bit. You can't switch hands or anything like that. But if you look at it, you do have a little bit of space right here. So what Joe's going to do is just use that top part of the baton, and then you just run. And you can actually slide it up and down with your thumb in the middle of the race if you want to do that. But typically when my athletes ask about what they do whenever they have the middle of the baton, I just say, don't panic and do what Joe is doing here. All right, that's a very good stop sign there. I think this guy's reaching a little bit. He was new to the relays, but was extremely fast. All right, here we go. Setting the mark. So what we do with setting the mark is we have 2 tennis balls, and we always start off with the first tennis ball being 20 steps from the acceleration triangle. And we have the second tennis ball 24 steps. So this one would be the 20 step first tennis ball, and then this one would be, should be another star there. There should be the 24. So depending on the speed of the incoming runner and the speed of the outgoing runner, that's whenever you can start to adjust where those 2 tennis balls are. But with the consistent bank step, you should be able to calibrate it perfectly. Theoretically, if you have your fastest guy going into your slowest guy, you can adjust the mark to where the incoming or the outgoing runner is at top speed by the time he gets to the baton. So this is the drive phase right here. Once you see the big triangle, that's when the hand goes back. And I believe the new rule changes mean that now you can actually receive the baton in this area, but I still am going to coach the setting the mark the exact same way. It can differ from meet to meet. So say one of our athlete steps is 19:23, and the incoming runner is running against a 25-mile-per-hour headwind. What I would probably do in that meet is make that mark a little bit closer. So make it maybe go 18:22, because I know that the incoming runner is going to be slower than he normally is. That is why it's super important to do pre-meet handoffs. We try to just do one perfect handoff in each exchange, basically as part of our warm-up in the 4x1. And we always video it. And typically it is just one try and we're good to go. But just getting that one perfect handoff is really, really important. Whenever we don't do pre-meet handoffs, I'm always super worried, and I think our guys are a little worried as well. All right, so with practice tips, you have to do high-speed handoffs. That means they're at their maximum speed, and you film everything. And as Alec was saying earlier, you can film it, and the guys are always like sprinting back to see the video, and you try to see what they think is right or wrong with what they see, and you can also cue them if they're not saying exactly what you want them to say. But we always just try to get one perfect handoff. So if they hit it on the first try, then we're done for that exchange, and we move on to another one. We always start with the first exchange and just make our way all the way across the track. A really good simple practice you can do is just stop sign practice at home. You just get in front of a mirror and you just run in and then stop sign. Stop sign. So just make sure that you have a real flat wrist, and guys, I think that it really helps our guys gain confidence that, because using the mirror, you can see what the incoming runner would see then. And then handoff drill, you can do it every day if you want. I don't recommend doing it every day, but it is basically no volume, and it basically just works on stop sign and candlestick, and it helps with hand-eye coordination. So we'll see if this works. This is our two twins from our 4x1 last year before the state meet, just a pre-meet practice. So basically all it is the outgoing guy is just jogging, and then the incoming guy just has to calibrate the speed and then make the proper exchange. What I don't like about this rep is this guy is right behind him. He should be to the inside, just like he should be in the race. So he's not reaching across his body to hand it off. We do this a lot indoors whenever it's bad weather or if it's during the winter, because it's just a really good, simple exchange tool. All right, so relay order. How do you decide what runner runs where? So I think you have to know your runners' personalities and their body types. So obviously, you're probably not going to put your tallest guy on the curve. They're typically more of the straightaway guy. Smaller guys are typically good on the curve. And you got to know if they are guys that would die to be the anchor or would rather be the guy out of the blocks. I know that at Plainfield North, Marcellus, he just was born to be an anchor. He would hawk anyone down, no matter how far back we were. But some guys, they hear that there can be an anchor and they kind of pucker up a little bit. Practice metrics is a really good one. So I have here our 100-meter curve flies from last year. So we literally set the free lap cones at the middle of each, at the midpoint of the two zones of the anchor or the curve. And so we got automated times for that. This would kind of just show you like, oh, well, that guy's typically our fourth fastest guy, but he's our second fastest guy on the curve. That's weird. So maybe he just has better angular momentum there. And then really important is the reliability factor. So the 2-leg and the 3-leg, they have to receive the baton and hand off the baton. So those two guys have to be your most reliable guys. They have to always leave on time. They have to have a great stop sign and a great candlestick. So I think we all know that we have certain athletes that don't trust them as much as others. So maybe those guys are better for a lead off or an anchor. Also, whenever you're making your relay order, you always need to keep in mind that you have to be at least in the hunt by the final exchange. So what that means is if you put your fastest guy at anchor at all times, then if he's getting the baton and 15 meters behind every single race, he's probably not going to have the best effect on your relay than he could if he was in another spot. So your anchor needs to get the baton whenever you're still in the race. So maybe it'd be better to put your fast guy at 2 to give your guys a better chance. I'm a firm believer that guys run better whenever they're in the lead or if they're in the hunt. So definitely keep that in mind. And And also, you need to be willing to change in the middle of the season. I mean, if it's not working the way that you thought it should, then maybe shuffle some things up. I know that we did that at Plainfield North a couple of years ago, and we had like a 3-second PR in the 4x2 within the last 2 weeks of the season. Weird things happen, but be willing to make the changes. And also, you got to develop your 8-man relay team. So you never know what's going to happen by the end of the year. So those guys need to be able to fill in if needed. And lastly, value your guys' opinion. I ask my guys every year, if you could pick, where would you run? What leg would you run? And typically, they're right on line with what I am. And if they aren't, then I'll kind of explain my thinking and basically persuade them to thinking the way that I do, because I think guys will run better if they believe they are in the best spot that they think. Some other recommendations: you definitely need to develop your fresh soft relays. That develops the relay culture. So if a guy is running in the relay for the first time as a junior or a senior, he's probably going to be a little bit more rusty than a guy that's been doing it all 4 years, for example. So definitely value those fresh soft relays. Definitely try to break your fresh soft relay times. That's probably more, I get more invested in breaking fresh soft relay times than I do winning the varsity race, because it's all about the future. Definitely record accurate relay splits. If you don't know, the way that you record accurate splits is you time the baton and not the athlete. So whenever the baton reaches the middle of the zone, that's whenever you hit the split button. And the way you do that is you have a coach by the last 2 exchanges, and he's there to drop a hand. You can see in the picture here, I'm ready to drop the hand. Our distance coach is at the finish line. He's going to hit the split button whenever I drop the hand on the second exchange, and then once again on the third, and then he'll stop it at the finish line. So always record those times and publish them. Kids love to see them. That's the first thing they always say is, "What was my split, coach?" RPR is huge. I don't think we've talked a whole lot about it today, but it keeps the runners in the parasympathetic state, which makes them very relaxed and calm and very wide-eyed. The last thing you want is your runners in the exchanges to be like, "Oh, I don't want to leave early, don't want to leave early," or anything like that. Just nice and calm, just go out there and do their business and just worry about running. And then don't over cue and keep them very consistent and simple. And that's all I got. That is my Twitter handle. If you guys ever have any questions or videos to send me, I would be glad to answer those. And then if you do want me to send you this PowerPoint or presentation, then that's my email. So.
All right, great job. I can also attach the presentations to the recording when I send it, if that works out better. That way we don't have to send a bunch of one-off emails.
Sounds good.
Yep. PDFs for all 3 will go out with the recording of the presentation. So, Alec, did you have anything to add? Oh, I have a question for Alec. Why in the hell don't you use the bank step?
You want me to torpedo your whole presentation, or?
Oh my, okay, just skip that question. Anyway, Quinn and I are pretty big on the bank step, and it was created at Plainfield North. That was our creation, and it's kind of an interesting story. It was created because we went into the 2016 state meet with the 2nd fastest time in the state. And as happens often, my anchor guy had a very good takeoff, and my incoming 3 runner never caught him. And if that's ever happened to you as a relay coach, it is the most heartbreaking thing. I mean, an hour and a half later, I was still talking to 4 crying guys, trying to get them to get out and run a good 4x2. I mean, it was one of the most devastating moments in my coaching life. And I mean, we really thought we had a chance to be state champs in 2016. You know, this is before we even knew who Marcellus Moore was. And so anyway, I wanted to standardize, customize, and be able to verify what go means. Does go mean you're turning? Does go mean you're starting to turn? Does go mean you're saying to yourself, let's go? No. So we defined go, and what we defined it as it was your back step hitting the ground. You have taken one step at the time when the guy hits the mark. So obviously he has to anticipate the mark. And what it's done, we have not had a drop baton in the last 6 years. Well, since 2016, we have not had a bad exchange since then. And it's well,
and I think too, with defining what go is obviously go is going to be different depending on the athlete, but it's also going to be different depending on the day. Go is such a vague term that if the bank step, it'll just totally solidify and make it consistent across all of your athletes and with every athlete. So,
and then, you know, I've said that, I said two things were brilliant today. Maybe one. One thing was Alec saying, show a video to somebody and don't talk. Let them see it. Let them talk to you. It's so simple. It's brilliant. Here's the other brilliant thing. And that is when the kids, I forgot what the other brilliant, oh, I know what it was. I almost forgot what the other one was. And that is that you want to, I'm having a definite Biden moment here. Okay, Quinn, go ahead and talk. I'll remember it in a second. Oh, I know what it was. Okay, perfect handoff. One perfect handoff. I'm sorry, guys. Totally embarrassed my boys. One perfect handoff is something we stumbled upon like 4 or 5 years ago. If you don't do that, what do you say? Go give me 5 handoffs. If you're a football coach, you probably say, go give me 50 handoffs. And there are going to be 50 terrible handoffs. So by saying one perfect one, the focus and intent becomes so high. And like Quinn says, they will run over to watch the video hoping that they hit it. And they will be harder on themselves than we will be. If a guy's bang step is within 12 inches of hitting the track, we're fine. So that's one of the things that I would really suggest to everybody, even football coaches. Instead of running one play 10 times, run one play perfectly once. And
I think too, with doing the perfect handoff is, especially like the pre-meet. So we'll do a perfect handoff on the first exchange, the second exchange, and the third exchange. And once they do it on the first try, I'm like, oh, you guys are money. You guys are going to be awesome. Let's go on. And I think it really builds confidence in the guys that they're like, oh, this is easy. Like probably the most complex thing in track and field to do, the 4x1 exchange, is it makes them totally confident and just makes it seem easy.
Okay, let's go to some questions here. Any comment on the 4x4 and 4x8 handoffs? I'll take that one. Yeah, get out, high hand. You're going to run and twist. Got to run and twist. You always want to get the handoff 8 to 10 meters away from where you start. So you just got to get out, twist. I always say hand high, V to the sky, thumb and forefinger to the sky. You want that handoff to be about head high, but you got to get out. Too many times, those 4x4 and 4x8 guys, especially if they're young, they take the handoff within one step of their starting place, and that's horrible. At the state meet, what you will see over and over again is every team that's well coached gets that handoff somewhere in mid zone.
I don't know about you, but I'm a big believer in leave fast, leave late, and keep eyes on the incoming runner. I think it's a mistake to turn and look up the track and then turn back.
So you're saying to stay twisted?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I always say get out, but I kind of like the stay twisted idea, because when you do that, you never lose sight, and you can keep a pretty good judge on where you're going.
Leave, the wrong pace, the wrong time, and not realize it until it's too late.
Now, in the 4x2 indoors, we need to go a little faster, and it's hard to get real fast, staying twisted. But yeah, I like that too.
And definitely an easy cue for that as well is your incoming runner has to know that where the guy is not the finish line. You are running through the finish line, and finishing is one of the most important parts of your leg. So you got to finish through the finish line.
Very good. Let's go to another question here. Okay, any changes with the new zone? I think Quinn kind of hit on that, but I will add in on that too. If there was ever a team that would want to have an exchange somewhere in the first 5 to 10 meters, like like the last 20 meters used to be the zone. Now it's just one zone of 30 that we start inside of. If there was ever a team that would want to have an early handoff, it would have been my team with Marcellus, that we would want Marcellus to run the furthest distance possible. But here's the problem, is that Marcellus, after 3 steps, is not very fast. He's got to, he's not super fast until he's run about 25, 30 meters. So the idea that somehow having him take the baton when he's still running 12 miles an hour, that's not doing us any good. So I'd say
trying to overcoach and put their stamp on a good runner again.
Yes. Oh, I will say to all the coaches out there, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but if I ever see people messing around with where a runner begins in the 4x1, I immediately lose respect for that coach. I just say that coach is a know-nothing coach. That every coach that I respect has their outgoing runner start with the maximum amount of acceleration zone. Every single one. In class 3A, our biggest class in Illinois, I take pictures all the time of the anchor guys. And typically all 9 will be starting at the little triangle. Once in a while, there'll be 8 starting at the little triangle and somebody starting mid-zone or something. And I just shake my head. I'm kind of mean about those things because I don't think it's been thought out very well. That I just think you're trying to overcoach, and that's not a part of Feed the Cats ever.
And the only difference of the changing zone now is everything is going to stay the same for us. However, if we ever come across a track that's been recently painted and they don't have the big triangle where the old start of the zone was, that's the only problem, because that's our cue of when we get our hand back. So at that point, we might need to measure that out. But
chalk it up. I would say just make your own triangle with chalk or something.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen for a while. So
I don't think so either. What advice would you have for allowing kids to switch hands after the handoff so it's always in the right hand? Once again, obviously you can do this, and I don't think it's a bad idea in the 4x2, but once again, I don't see anybody who I respect. Teams that are great every year in the 4x1, I don't see any teams ever switching hands in the 4x1. It's just
like if I'm coaching Marcellus Moore and he runs a 9-2 switching hands, I'm not saying anything to Marcellus Moore, but like I'm not coaching that either,
No, I think it's left, right. I think there could really be a case made for it in the 4x2. And matter of fact, I think in the 4x2, surprisingly, you could go open exchanges like the 4x4 and run close to what you would run going blind, and you would never have a mistake. But in the 4x1, exchanges have to be so fast that I would never suggest.
Well, and my thing with that too is it affects the lane ownership. So as I said, the baton should always stay in the middle of the track, and you don't want your 3-leg having to be on the outside part of the lane getting the baton. So. Correct. Always, I think the lane ownership and the baton staying in the middle of the track is extremely important.
Yeah, I just can't imagine doing anything different. Now, here's one on the stop sign, fingers to the sky, right? Now, your fingers, the stop sign is down. The stop sign is down. It's not up. Now, fingers are to the sky in the 4x4, 4x8 handoff because you're reaching like head high and it's visual. But in the blind, you are extending back. You got it there. Yeah. The fingers are down.
I coach a flex wrist too. I think it creates a good stop sign.
Yeah. The cocked wrist. Right. Yeah. And I do want to give credit to Leroy Millsap at Cahokia, probably the best 4x1 in the history of the state of Illinois, who invented the term stop sign candlestick and really taught me how they hand it off. Chad Lacaus and I attended a 6 a.m. Session where he taught Chad and I everything he knew at 6 a.m. on a hot day in Cahokia. And that's what good coaches do. They try to hook up with other good coaches, and they're willing to go stay in a hotel and meet them at 6 in the morning to learn, how the good people do it. You don't have to copy the good people, but they probably do it right. Does the outgoing runner always hand back when they hit the big triangle? Do you ever, incoming runner, have a verbal cue? No, the three of us are all nonverbal, and we've always been nonverbal. We did, like 16 years ago, we were still putting hand to the sky, kind of like a plate instead of a stop sign. But like I said, in 2006, I visited Leroy Millsap and I went stop sign from then on. We don't ever say stick or anything like that. I think if you're in a big race and you got, like at our state meet, we have 9 lanes filled. That means you got 18 guys in the zone all at once, and you're going to say stick and go and fire and all those kinds of things.
If another team is using a verbal cue, how do you know? Even if you're using different words, you might be waiting for a verbal cue and you hear someone say something and you leave early.
And it's just another moving part that you want to take out all things of discretion, just make it totally standardized.
Yeah. And I mean, we have, many, many years between the three of us doing nonverbal, and I just see no advantage to doing it. And yes, the big triangle always is like, there it is. Of course, you're running kind of on a diagonal because you should be seeing the track anyway. And as soon as you see that triangle, you're getting upright and hand back. So that upright and hand back should be, should allow you to be presenting the stop sign at about 2 meters into the zone. And then by the time you actually get that into your hand, you're probably 5 meters into the zone, and that's a safe handoff. It would actually be faster if you were 15 meters into the zone, because you would be going, you would have had 25 meters of acceleration instead of 15. However, I call that the panic zone. If you're a late zone handoff person because you're trying to get your 2-leg to run 120 meters or something like that, you are going to put yourself in a panic situation. And we never perform well when we're panicky. So yeah, I would never do that.
I also would never trust my incoming runner to say it at the right time, even if everything else was perfect.
Yeah, that's true. And I think Quinn did mention, the last thing we ever want to do is panic as an incoming runner and start reaching. That's a sign of really inexperienced or poorly coached kids, that anybody that wants to reach when they're 3 steps away from the outgoing runner, that just never ends well. How many days do you practice 4x1 handoffs? Is this part of the speed workout, or is it the speed workout in itself? That's a great question. You'd be shocked at how little we have to practice 4x1 handoffs. I think Quinn would agree with this, and Alec too.
Once a week.
Yeah, it's once a week. And the reason that we don't have to do that is the fundamental thing that Quinn mentioned is that we are really going to value our fresh, soft 4x1. We're going to make that a priority. By making our fresh, soft 4x1 a priority, we will, those kids will have a foundation going into the next year. Let's say we have a junior, he's worked on handoffs as a freshman, as a sophomore, and then, gee, we come back and, we just don't have to do it much. It's kind of like, hey.
I think a really cool thing. So in this picture right here, this is our varsity team. They're pretty good. But if you look back here, our fresh soph team, these guys were state champions 2 years later.
Yes, all 4 of those guys are all staters, and that's how we. And many times in meets where we can enter our fresh soph team in the same race as our varsity, we get first and second. I think, Alec, what you guys had a 4x1 fresh soph team run real fast, didn't you?
42.8.
Yeah, 42.8, smoking fast. We at Plainfield North, we had a fresh soph team go 43.3. I know if you're from Texas, these times sound like they suck, but in Illinois, fresh soph teams run 48 or 42.8, or a varsity team running 41 and change. That's really Illinois fast. We just don't have as much dopamine as those Texas and California and Georgia and Florida coaches have. But then again, those teams would not run as fast if they were in Illinois, because it's just a different ballgame. Is it a part of your speed workout? My favorite time to do handoffs is the day before a meet. And so if I have like 8, 9 guys doing handoff work, I may send my other 30 guys over and have them do 3 20-yard competition flies or something. So yes, it does take the place of a speed workout, but remember, our speed workouts are so minimum dose that literally just warming up or waking up and then getting one perfect handoff in. By the way, if we don't have one perfect handoff in the first 3 or so, I'll say hell with it. We got to get one tomorrow, because I'm not going to sit around and run my guys ragged the day before a meet, or any day as far as that goes. So yeah, it's part of the speed workout.
My first relay exchange day is we do like the whole team together. We demonstrate with a experienced group, and we let them partner up and take lanes. So you get a partner, you set up in a lane, you go, we try to coach you up, you give the baton to the next partners to do one. And that's a really hectic, chaotic day. It's not really fun, but it allows us to kind of generalize everything for everybody, and then we can get more specific with the team that's running the next day in the meet, throughout the season.
And I've also had experience too of so we have a set group of maybe 12 guys that practice 4x1 exchanges, and every other sprinter would die to be part of that group. And I think that's developing the relay culture. And for example, your fastest guy that might be like, oh, I wanted to do the individual events at state, he won't do that in this system. He will die to run the relays.
Yep. And that's, all sprint coaches judge their value by 4x1 stuff. They don't value, the worst coach in the world can have a phenom that, is really good in the 100 meters, but really bad coaches very seldom have good 4x1 teams. And for sure, they don't have consistently good 4x1 teams. So that's really important. And you were talking about, I remember one time, I basically do that lecture that Alec was talking about one time. It was like our first outdoor handoff education. And we were doing it, and there was a girls' meet starting at the same time we were doing this. And Illinois, girls and boys are segregated. And so I said, hey, this is perfect. Let's watch the girls 4x1, and let's see how many things they do right. And they went through, and Marcellus turned to me and he said, Coach, they didn't do anything right. And I don't know, you'd have to see it to really understand it, but that happens so often. And that's one of the things that I think with all 3 of these things, block starts, if I see a meet where your kids are standing in their lanes and not coming out of the blocks, or they're in their blocks and they're like all tabletops, or your hurdlers look like, like they've never practiced before, and your 4x1 teams are tippy-toeing in and tippy-toeing out and yelling fire and stick, and both of them are in the middle of the lane. I mean, I hate to sound uppity, but I lose respect. I don't even like you as a coach, because in a way you're hurting kids. You know, like these kids have one chance to go through our stuff. So track and field is more than just running fast. Running fast is the most important thing. But gee, we have like 3 important fundamentals to learn: block starts, hurdles, and 4x1 exchanges. So there's my rant. Any changes you'd make in the 4x2? Yes. We split the acceleration zone. So instead of the 10 meters, Quinn is showing it right now, we split the zone and we use no tennis balls. So go back to the mid zone, Quinn. All right. So that cursor is mid zone, and we usually just eyeball it. It'll be like 17 feet or 5 big steps. And then we use no tennis balls, and we allow the little triangle to be the go mark. Show them the little triangle. That's going to be the go mark. And we will still go left, right, just to keep it steady. And a lot of times a good 4x1 team will be the exact same 4x2 team for you. So guys get used to running anchor. They get used to running 2, 3, whatever. And it does really feel like the guy's close to you. I mean, that's only 17 feet away. So you got to tell them, you know, don't leave early. And then what I've heard Quinn yell 100,000 times, finish. You got to just scream at the incoming runner every damn time to finish. They want to be so done with that race before they hand off that they have got to sprint through the zone. And then the outgoing runner, we do cue him a little bit. We talk about being big and strong when he leaves. Don't leave like a jackrabbit. Be big and strong, big, long, strong strides. So, you know, what we don't want is a tired ass incoming guy, you know, run with the baton out like he's just run a marathon, and the outgoing runner to take off like a jackrabbit and nobody gets, you know, yeah, you just can't let that happen. So we don't practice it much because you cannot simulate it, as Alex said. You just can't do it. So we just do the best we can. And because it's generic, the 4x2 is allowed to be a variable race for us. And in Illinois, since, you know, your 300 hurdlers don't run it and your 400 meter guys don't run it, you really do have to have.
I looked at him after, like, you're crazy. You are.
Yeah, the 4x2 is just constantly changing, I think. Let's see, RPR and stuff. Yeah, RPR is something that I know all 3 of us now. Alec was slow into it, but he actually, this is a great thing, 21 sprinters this year, and he actually taught them all to do self RPR one day, and all 21 had PRs. I don't know if that's ever happened. I mean, that's crazy stuff. There are so many anecdotal stories. I was on a podcast the other day with 2 guys from UMass, and I mentioned RPR, and I noticed they were shaking their head. Yeah. I said, oh, you guys do RPR? Goes, hell yeah. I mean, our guys love RPR. I mean, everybody I talk to at the college and professional level, they know about RPR and they love it. And I just, yeah, we can't go into all of that right now, but, you know, get with it. I think 3 things RPR does. They're more durable, they're faster, and they declutter their brain. Their brain becomes focused and calm, and a survival state is never a performance state. I said that panicky guys are never good. Well, when you are cluttered and you're thinking about 8 different things going in 8 different directions, and you're worried and you're scared and all those things, like before the 4x4, you do RPR and it's like, okay, let's go. So it's really good stuff, and that's about all I'm going to say. I did add RPR this year to my warm-ups, which I really like doing. But that's a long story as well. We did that one.
Which way do your runners face? Outgoing?
You want to do that one out?
Well, it depends on what leg.
Yes. So the 2 leg, since he's on the outside, he's facing inside. The 3 leg, since he's inside, he's facing outside.
We say butt to your lane ownership.
Butt to your lane ownership. I've never said that before in my life, but it makes sense.
Yeah, so since he's the curb runner, his butt is to the inside lane ownership.
Which I had a question for you on this one, Quinn. What are you doing with the tennis balls on the inside of the lane?
That's probably wrong. Yeah, so you should probably put those on the outside because that's where the incoming runner is. But I know you own the outside lane. You don't own the inside. But everything that we believe in, and the reason why we're in an upright stance in the 4x1 is we want that good top-down vision of our go mark. We want that top down. I mean, I went to the NCAAs in 2017, and bunch of teams are looking under the armpit at the go mark. Of course, I don't think that like this.
Yeah, like that guy in the outside lane. I don't think we should base anything on what college coaches do, because there's some true idiots at the college level. And I'm not saying that people are in a down stance are wrong. I think they may start better than the up stance, but I would sacrifice a little bit of start for the ability to see the go mark best.
And it's all timing anyway. Even if you accelerate just a little slow, you're practicing all the time. Just how far your takeoff mark is,
Yeah. Somebody asked, what was the podcast? It was sprint, jump, throw, or something like that. All you have to do, and I think Alec has a podcast, and I have 3 more that may be released this week. But anybody that wants that, just text me or email me or whatever, and that's pretty easy to get out there. We're at a point now with this coronavirus thing that I think I'm listening to a podcast every day, and I think I'm doing a podcast every day. It's crazy. I'm doing a football podcast Wednesday night. I did a football podcast last week, so there's a lot of them out there. So thank you so much. I appreciate it, and we are going to sign off. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.